What's up, everybody? I'm Aslan Hajavandi. Let me shut the door behind me so you guys can see your head football coach, Willie Taggart. That looks a lot better, does it not? He's Michael Langston. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of a Warchant.com recruiting chat. Michael going to give you the latest on Florida State's recruiting efforts for the class of 2020. If you're not a member of Warchant.com, well, we're not taking your questions. This is all from our members on the premium recruiting board. But you can always join. Use the promo code WARCHANT30. It'll give you 30 free days of access to the Ultimate Seminoles Sports Source, which includes all the great insight that Michael has for everybody. Michael, how you been, man? It's been a long time, friend.
I'm fantastic. Everything's great, and looking for seeing the Noles under the lights. This weekend. Hopefully, there's a lot of recruits there, and we'll see how it goes. And should be fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. ACC Network for everybody that has it at home or doesn't have it at home, like all of us here in Tallahassee. With that said, Michael, let's take our first question of the day, and it comes from FSU fan 1973, and they ask, how big of a threat is Auburn in taking Daijun, I would imagine Daijun Edwards, from us now that they look like a true playoff caliber team? I know they are trying to reload at running back, being that the portal bug ate them, but last year so early, playing time is being whispered to them as well, it seems like.
Well, I mean, they're barely one of the teams that Daijun's mentioned to me very slightly. I mean, the main teams have been Kentucky, Georgia, a few of them, obviously Florida State, and there's a few others, but Auburn was barely mentioned. But that's a possibility. I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I think FSU sits in a really good spot with him so far. I think the fact that his good friend Carter Boatwright that committed to FSU, he's already there. And he just likes how he would be used in that offense. But, Auburn's certainly a threat. But you got to remember, too, Auburn's got two commitments, including Tank Bixby, who's one of the top running backs in the country. So I think they're okay right now. And now if they start losing guys, then, maybe or he starts visiting there, that's something that I'll watch. But for right now, I think they're just one of the teams that he kind of listed.
You were on Wake Up Warchant earlier this week with myself and Corey Clark, Michael. You're pretty high on Daijun in terms of his talent and what he could bring to the table, right?
Yes, he's the best running back I've seen so far. And that goes, I mean, I see a lot of kids after every game. You can watch their huddle video like every week. And this kid just does things that not a lot of kids can do as far as, the way he sees the field, the way he breaks tackles, and just a game breaker. He just breaks the game open. He's just the best player on the field when you watch every game he plays. And that's speaking highly when you talk about the teams he's played already. But every time he takes the field, you feel like he's the best player on the field. He just does things that nobody else can do.
Next question comes from Noel Chase 12. Are Kendall Browse and Randy Clements actively recruiting for us?
I would hope so, since they're paid by FSU. I would think they're recruiting for FSU, but I think they're all on all these offensive recruits that they're after. Obviously, offensive line with Clements, he's heavily involved with all four of the commitments that FSU already has. They're hoping to get a fifth or a sixth. But to answer the guy's question, yes, they're very active with recruiting. Otherwise, I don't think they'd have a job if they weren't active in recruiting. So that's kind of what they do. But I think offensively, I think every one of those, both of those guys are active with every offensive target that FSU's after.
They also want to know whether or not you think Browse and Clements will stay after this year. You can punt. You can always punt, Michael. You have special teams in your pocket too,
Well, that's just speculative. I mean, they may here, might be. I mean, I think it's 50-50. They would or they wouldn't. Who knows what goes on of how comfortable they are in this, going through this system. But, would it shock me either way? No. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, that's more of a question for Ira and them, that maybe the stuff they've heard. But I think it could go, I mean, you could say 50-50 because you don't know what they're thinking.
Fair enough. Next question comes from Bogeyman or Boogeyman. I'm going to say Bogeyman. Do we got to worry about Malachi Wideman since he was visiting Florida this past week? What are some other targets here for wide receiver?
Well, first of all, Malachi did not visit Florida last weekend. So,
Fake
he was
news.
not there. Not true. He didn't visit anywhere. I talked to Adrian McPherson, who's basically his mentor. They did not visit anywhere. The only places they've been is FSU. their main target right now that they want to finish off is wide receiver Bryan Robinson from West Palm Beach out of Palm Beach Central. That's the guy they want. If they get that guy, I think they're pretty much done at receiver, assuming they hold on to every guy that they have. He's the guy. He's the number one guy. He's the one they want. He's like I've been told that he's probably coming in for an unofficial visit this weekend, and then he's going to take his official visit for the Miami game coming in. So I think, and I still think FSU leads. It's just a little bit cloudier because of the way the season started. But if they continue to do what they're doing on the field and continue to improve every week the way we're seeing, I think they should be fine in pulling him off. But that's kind of the focus is Bryan Robinson right now.
Smiling Noles got a question for you, Michael. He wants to know, does Florida State lead for linebacker defensive end Jalen Harrell from Tampa? Who are the other schools he's considering? Do you see him becoming a 4-star prospect by the end of the year?
I think he's, in my eyes, a 4-star prospect when I watch him play. He does a lot of different things. He's kind of like not the same type of player, but just based on what he brings is kind of what Dennis Briggs does. You know, he's very versatile. You can play him at defensive end. You can play him at defensive tackle. Now, this kid, you can't play a defensive tackle, but what you can do is you can play him at defensive end. You can play him at linebacker. He's very comfortable in coverage, very good wheels, very good hips as far as being flexibility. He can cover a lot of ground. Now, as far as where things stand, I think FSU, Miami are probably the main team. I think he has the strongest connection with FSU. Now, assuming the season goes all right, where you're talking about winning 8 games or something like that, I think FSU would be the team that I would put as the team to beat. But I would say, it's FSU Miami battle. Early on before the season, I would say FSU led, but now the season's kind of up and down. We have to see how the season goes. I think if the season's satisfactory to him, I think FSU has a good shot at pulling him.
You know, Michael, you've said that recruits usually are not as emotional as fans are. You know, it's a kind of week-to-week thing for so many folks right now with Taggart. I mean, with the recruits, is it maybe more sort of dramatic than years past in terms of how they seem to feel about the program week in and week out?
I think it's a little bit because they just want to see – it's not so – and I tell people this all the time. It's not so much the wins. It's just the product they see. You know, offensively, Corey Clark wrote a great article about, the differences from last year to this year. Recruits are going to probably see that. And I think recruits, for the most part, or if not all part, is they're loving what they see on offense. But I think it's just the team in general. They want to see them take steps forward. So, when you're coming into a situation, as a recruit, you're looking at it as like a business decision of, hey, is this going to be a good situation for me for 3 or 4 years? And that's what recruits are looking at. It's not so much the winning, although that helps. It's what kind of product do you see on the field that you feel like you can be a part of that? And if you see problems, whether it's structural problems or undisciplined or something that, you can see blowing up, or you don't feel the coach staff might be there through your whole career, then that's something you have to consider. And I think that's why the season is important for FSU as far as showing these things and improving these things. And I will give them credit. While those things are still concerns of mine, just when I watch them consistently, there's definitely a much better team than what I saw in the first 2 games. It's a much better team than what I saw. And I think recruits notice that. But I think at the end of the day, it comes to a point where you're coming off a 5-7 season. You need to show some winning.
Absolutely. We got a long one here from T-Mac. It might be Tracy McGrady. It literally could be the actual Tracy McGrady. It's T. McGrady 1. He's got a long one here, so bear with me. He says, we all know that big games were won and lost in the trenches, and I feel like recruiting has been great, except the trenches on both sides of the ball. It appears now that Walker and Doomerville are trending elsewhere for 2020 and for 2021, the 3 main rivals in Miami. 12 commits, 4 trench guys. Florida, Christopher Thomas, junior, plus 2 more trench commits. Clemson's got the number 1 overall center, a 4-star tackle. They all appear to be lapping us on the trail for the trench guys. I feel with the way recruiting is going, it will be enough to beat the Louisvilles, NC States, and Syracuses of the world, but never the 3 main rivals. Maybe Miami. I just see this team settling in to a regular 7-5, 8-4 squad as the new normal for years to come, unless the line recruiting improves drastically. What has to happen, Michael Langston, to move the needle here, as most think 7-5 is the likely, realistic, best case scenario? Wow, how can it be likely, realistic, and best case? God, I love it.
Well, he's got all of them. He's not hanging on the fence. He's just like straddling it. But I mean, the easy solution, I said this a minute ago, is winning. You go out there and win, and you show a product that's a stability with your staff. I think kids are going to be fine with that. Kids want FSU to be good. Kids want to go to FSU. But when you have question marks about if the staff is going to be here or if these guys are turning into a winning product, I think we're slowly getting into whether they're turning into a winning product. If we continue to see what we saw the last 2 weeks, Aslan, I mean, I think that's been a positive development, but you have to see that. And then you want to turn that down, it comes to winning. Now, I will say, they got 4 commitments on the offensive line, so they're not doing too terribly. Now, defensive tackle, they need to get one or 2 more. I think 2 more would fit. They got a really good steal in Manny Rogers, who's tearing it up. FSU commit. He's phenomenal. He's a 4-star talent. Now you need to pull a guy like a Timothy Smith out of Sebastian River. That would help FSU a lot in the trenches. I don't think they're doing anything wrong, especially when you have Odell. Odell is one of the most recognized defensive tackle coaches in America to ever coach. So I think it's mainly about winning and also showing a better product on the field consistently. And you do that, you look at the teams that consistently do that. Those are the teams that are getting these guys. I mean, look at Clemson. You look at, Florida's had a good year. You look at, stuff like that. These guys aren't having any problems getting the guys in the trenches because they're winning. They've won. Florida's a top 10 team, although a very soft top 10 team, what I've seen, but very soft. But still, they're winning. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is they're showing a winning product. It's not so much the W's. It's just about the product you show. And once kids are sold on that, I think you'll see certainly an upstick as far as this guy's question with the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can really put your finger on to say this is why they're not recruiting well on the line. Because they're recruiting well at wide receiver, at running back, just for whatever reason, just the line is not coming around their way for whatever reason. Yeah. All right, let's go to another question here. Smiley was coming back wanting nuggets, man. This is what we're doing right now. Let's go to Drury. Drury's always got some good questions. Drury asks, if we can somehow get to 8-4 and don't get embarrassed, what's the ceiling on this class?
I mean, I think to get guys that are uncommitted, to get a Savell Smalls, to get Bryan Robinson, to get a Daijun Edwards. Of course, he's probably not so much in that category, but to get these uncommitted guys, you have to have at least 8 wins to get that. I think 8 wins, and then you go to a bowl game, and then you win 9 wins. I think you're looking at good chance of pulling these guys and having a top 10 class. I think that is realistic. That can happen if you do that. Now that's a lot of stuff we have to unpack and see if that actually happens, because that's going to be a challenge. But I think that's really best case scenario. What you want to see is 9 wins overall. I think technically speaking, they could win 10 games because they lose to Clemson and win every game the rest of the way. They could have 9 regular season wins and then win your bowl game. That's 10 wins. So technically they could do that, but is that realistic of them not slipping up? That's tough. That's a tough call for them to do. But I think 8 wins regular season, 9 wins with the bowl game. I think it would certainly help you pull guys like Savell Smalls and Bryan Robinson and maybe a few other guys to finish off this class that's currently sitting at 21 commits and rated the number 8 class in the country. So I think if you do those things, you're probably looking at a top 10 class.
Well, they're already top 10 right now, Michael. You get Savell Smalls, Bryan Robinson, and Daijun. Like, that doesn't get you top 5, you don't think?
Yeah, but you got to think about other teams are going to be adding guys too. So they might be ranked higher, and FSU doesn't have a lot of room left. It depends on also how many FSU signs, if they are able to get to that 27, 28 mark, and if they keep all the guys that they have committed in this class. I haven't heard any signs lately. It seems like things are going to a positive direction as far as the commits and everything. Even guys like Josh Grivis, who looked kind of shaky there for a while and ready to not come here now, he seems to be slowly moving back towards FSU and feeling good there. But still concerned with a lot of recruits, I think. But still, if you do all the things that I'm talking about, 8 to 9 wins, I think you're talking about a top 10 class. When everyone does everything they're doing, I think top 10, top 15 class is certainly realistic.
Also, Michael, I mean, I guess when we say 8 or 9 wins, when you kind of look at the calculus of it all, that's probably going to include either upsetting Florida in Gainesville or holding, serve against Miami at home. They've got to win one of those games, right? I mean, Clemson, we don't think is likely, but I mean, the Clemson, Miami, Florida, you just got to sneak a win from one of them, right?
Right, and that's what I've said before the season is the 2 games I had circled for FSU throughout the year wasn't Florida, is Boise State, which they gave away, and they had that game won, and then it's the Miami game, because you have to have something that fans, boosters, and even more importantly, recruits can snag onto, can grab onto. They can grab onto something if you beat an arch rival like Miami, where that's a school in state that still recruits against you. That's something to grab onto, where you got to do something where it grabs some attention. You have to win that game. That is a must win for FSU when they play Miami. That's the biggest one. Let's face it. That's more realistic than probably going up to Gainesville and beating Florida. So I think you have to go in there, and that's a game FSU has to win. It's going to be your biggest recruiting weekend. You have so many top-rated kids coming in for official visits, unofficial visitors throughout the state, young kids that are going to see FSU. And this is your chance. This is your stage to go out there and show them why you're going to be different and why to believe in this Willie Taggart era of, hey, why they're going to take the next step. And that's a game they have to win.
Now that you're all lathered up and giving us some real good, thoughtful answers, Michael, we got Captain Jack or Captain 3 Jack asking, do you guys prefer Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich, KFC, or Chick-fil-A?
Well, I haven't not tried the Popeyes sandwich I'm not going to say Popeyes, although I do like their chicken. It's the spiciest one. I like it, but I'll go Chick-fil-A. You can't go wrong there. By the way, Chick-fil-A has the best Coke.
Okay.
Anywhere.
Even better than McDonald's. I heard McDonald's supposedly has the best.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It bites. It bites you. And plus, my wife loves Chick-fil-A, so I know she's going to watch this later. So I'm keeping her good graces.
I'm going to go off.
She loves.
I got to go off the board. I got to send my guy Zaxby's. I got to keep it real.
There you go.
Got to keep it real with the Zax.
They do a great job.
Back to the good questions. Here we go. We got another one from the Premium Recruiting Board. It's Van1515. He asks, or they ask, who are the offensive tackle recruits that FSU has a legitimate shot to pull? Offensive tackle.
Well, I think there's some JUCO names out there. I'm sorry, guys, I can't give you the names yet. They're keeping that kind of quiet. But I do think there's 2 or 3 JUCO names that they're active with. I think the main offensive tackle targets right now will be Marcus Dumerville and Isaiah Walker. Now, they're both leaning elsewhere right now. Isaiah Walker looks like a Florida lean at this point. Florida looks like to be in a good place with them. Now, he is going to officially visit FSU for the Miami game, so FSU will have a tremendous opportunity to really make an impact and make a real strong push there with Isaiah. He's very close with Telly Lockett, so there's certainly plenty of connections there. He likes Dante Lucas a lot. There's several players on the team he likes a lot. He likes Clements a lot. So this is their stage to really make their push. And then with Marcus Dumerville, I think he's going to visit FSU. I would give LSU the edge. I think LSU's the favorite right now. But I think he will officially visit FSU as well. So those 2 are the main guys that I'm focused on. But I think they got 4 already. So you really only need at the most 2 more. So I could see them grabbing a JUCO guy or a grad transfer guy, and then I could see them grabbing a high school kid. So I think that's kind of their plan. But both of them, they want to be tackles. I think they want tackles the rest of the way.
Made it to the finish line, Michael. Last question comes from Smiley Nole again. Kind of falls into the last question about JUCO guys. Is Florida State pursuing Khadeem Telfort? Do you know if they're in contact, or do you know even when he might graduate JUCO?
I do not know when he's graduating, and I think even though they haven't given me I think he's one of the guys they're still talking to. He was close to committing last year, but his grades weren't where they need to be as far as him to come over. I think he's a guy it's very close to Dante Lucas. They know each other really well. He's a guy, if they push, they'll get him. They'll land him. So I think he's a guy and a name to watch, going forward. But I can't say 100% Smiley that they are recruiting him. I do know they're talking to him, and that much I know.
How much eligibility does he have? I feel like Khadeem Telfort's been a kid that's been talked about since Bobby Bowden was roaming the sidelines.
I think he'd probably have 2 years left, I would say. But he's a very talented guy. He was a Rivals 250 player. Got in a bad situation at Florida, just didn't work out, where he did some things that put him in this kind of situation and made him go JUCO. But as we've seen, Taggart's willing to give guys second chances that's kind of the culture he's built there. And if they push, they'll have a good shot at pulling a kid like that. But we'll just have to see. But I do know there's several JUCOs they're talking to, and there's also a few grad transfers they're already got their eye on. But we're not going to know those grad transfers till later. But I think right now the 2 high school kids that I'd mentioned, Domerville and Walker, are kind of the focus right now.
All right, Michael. I know it's kind of a little bit of a lull in some regards once this Miami game comes to town. Then business will really start picking up. But over on the Premium Recruiting Board, will there be maybe a visitors list, or do you know some of the guys that are visiting for this upcoming game against NC State?
Well, we'll plan on we usually have a visitors list around Thursday. So I think Thursday, the worst Friday, we'll have a list as we usually do. And like I said, Bryan Robinson is likely to be there from what I've been told. He's one that I expect there. I think this will be a bigger group. I just have a feeling it being a night game, it's going to be easier for kids to get over there. I feel like I could see like 10 guys there. Now, I don't know who specifically will be there. I think the IMG guys are going to be there from what I've been told, like Alex Akavich, Josh Griffiths. Might even see Chad Masco. Anybody that FSU's recruiting, I think, is probably going to be there. I think so that's something to watch. I think this will be probably the biggest list they've had so far, because of the game, the time, and everything. So we'll just have to wait and see who exactly is going to be there. But as far as uncommitted guys, I haven't gotten that yet, guys. I'm still working on that. But I will have you a list. And I know it's kind of slow right now just recruiting, but you just have to – it's like warming up a car, right, Aslan. It's like that car that never cranks, and you haven't cranked it in a while. It's like when you crank it up, it's going to get going again, and things will pick up heavily, and certainly you'll get used to. And I'll start sharing nuggets, as the question earlier. We'll start having nuggets once we start having major visitors or more significant visitors. Then I'll start doing a lot more nuggets and give you guys all the stuff that you piranhas are craving.
Yeah, if you folks have a question, go to the Premium Recruiting Board on warchant.com and ask Michael. He'll get back to you. And if you're not a member, again, use the promo code WARCHANT30. It'll get you 30 free days of access. If you're a Florida State student, email support@warchant.com from your student email address. You'll get a promo code for 12 months of access, a full year for only $12. It's incredible. You can ask all the questions you want to Michael for an entire year. That is priceless. Michael Langston, thank you for your time, friend.
You got it, boy.